Are you in a reading slump? Then stop what you're doing because I have got the perfect recommendations to help get you out of it. Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Carly, and today I'm going to be giving you some recommendations to help you bust that dreaded reading slump. We've all been there when we want to read, we're trying to read, and we can't even focus or read one page without zoning out and drifting off into the abyss. It is the worst. I'm actually quite partial to a cheeky reading slump myself, so I do feel like I'm kind of qualified, and I've got a mixture of recommendations, a mixture of genres. They are mainly thriller, but there's the odd horror. There's even a little romance in there. So I'm hoping that at least one of these will be useful. My number one tip when you're in a slump is to actually not force yourself to read. Sometimes you've just got to ride it out and wait until the vibes are vibing again. But if you're feeling ready to dip your toe back into reading, then hopefully these will help get you out of your slump. Right, let's get into the book. First up, we've got a Chris Carter book. You cannot go wrong with a Chris Carter book when you're in a slump. This one is One by One. So this is book 5 in the Robert Hunter series. There are 13 books in total, but they can all be read as standalones. And all of them are fast-paced, they have short chapters, they are gripping, they keep you hooked. Every chapter ends with a cliffhanger. So yeah, I literally inhale these books. They're so good when you're in a reading slump. The only thing I will say is this is one of the longer of the recommendations today. This is just over 500 pages, but honestly, it doesn't feel like 500 pages at all. I have briefly mentioned this series in my last video, but if you haven't watched that, then basically this series follows Robert Hunter and his partner Garcia. They both work in the ultra-violent crimes unit in LA, and basically they hunt some of the worst serial killers ever. This particular serial killer is broadcasting his victims on a private website, and he's getting the public to vote how the victim dies. There's literally a ticking clock, a race against time. My heart was racing while I was reading this book. The high stakes, the danger, and the fact that everybody is literally witnessing these horrors unfold on the website, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. It's classic Chris Carter. It's easy to read, and I highly recommend it if you are feeling a little bit slumpy. Next up is The Puppet Show by M.W. Craven. Now, this book is one I don't see talked about enough. It's so underrated. I absolutely loved it. It's book 1 in a series. I'm actually not sure how many books there are in this series, but I've only read this one. It basically follows Detective Washington Poe. So that's his name, and it's called the Washington Poe series. It's actually got similar gore levels to the Chris Carter books. Like, the descriptions in this were really graphic. So if you are a little bit squeamish, then just go into this with caution. But this is another serial killer detective thriller. This time, the victims are being burned alive, and they all have Washington Poe's name carved into their chest. There's a character in this called Tilly. She's a civilian who helps Washington Poe with his investigation, and she actually reminded me of Strange Sally Diamond. So if you've read that book, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you haven't read that book, then Tilly she's very quirky, very straight talking, and she actually made this book for me. I was hooked into this from the very first page. It kept my attention throughout the whole book, which I actually think is really important when you're feeling a bit slumpy. So yeah, I highly recommend it, and I'm actually super excited to carry on with this series. I'm going to try and read book 2 this month. Next up, we have got the slump buster of all slump busters. This actually got me out of a slump, The Passengers by John Marrs. So this is one of John Marrs's speculative thrillers. He's got 2 types of thrillers. He's got psychological thrillers, and he's got a series of speculative thrillers that are very Black Mirror-esque. And this is one of those. So 8 driverless cars have been hacked and set on a collision course with their passengers inside. These passengers are from all walks of life, all different backgrounds, and all of them have secrets. Of course they do. This is another one where the public are encouraged to get involved and vote. Each driver is allowed to kind of plead their case and tell you why they think they should survive. And yeah, the hacker leaves it up to the public to decide who lives and who dies. This one is absolutely perfect for a slump. It is fast-paced, it's high high stakes. Oh my God, I was so anxious when I was reading this book. And there's little twists throughout as well, which keep it really interesting. It keeps you hooked. So yeah, this is one of my absolute favourite books to recommend for anybody that's feeling a little bit slumpy. Hi everyone, this is Editing Me, and I'm just popping on quickly because the rest of this video is at completely the wrong angle, and I didn't realise until after I'd recorded it. So basically, the first time I recorded it, after the last book, my microphone died and the audio cut out. So the whole of the rest of the video was mute. So I had to redo it. And I obviously wasn't paying attention to the angle, and let's just say it's a little bit out. So apologies about the angle for the rest of the video. I'm still very new to filming on my back camera, and I'm still trying to work out all the angles and everything. So bear with me, and any books that aren't quite visible, I'll make sure I put overlays on the screen so that you can see them. And now I'll leave you enjoy the rest of the video. So let's get back into it with Never Lie by Frida McFadden. At the time of me recording this video, this is actually £3 on Amazon in paperback. So bloody bargain, and it's also available on Kindle Unlimited. So I've picked this one for this video because it's just over 300 pages, so it's quite a short read, and it's a Frida McFadden, so we know it's not going to be too complicated to read. This follows the story of newlyweds Trisha and Ethan, who end up stranded in a remote manor house after they've been trapped by a storm. Stuck inside with nothing to do, Trisha gets bored and she starts snooping around the house, and she stumbles across a stash of audio tapes. These audio tapes belonged to the psychiatrist who previously lived in the house, Dr. Hale, and Dr. Hale actually vanished without a trace years ago, so it's all a bit mysterious. Trisha starts listening to these audio tapes, and they're transcripts between Dr. Hale and her patients, and she starts discovering what happened in the lead up to Dr. Hale's disappearance. I just love an isolated remote setting. I also love anything to do with therapists, psychiatrists, asylums, anything like that always piques my interest. There's also a massive twist in this, which you'll think you'll have figured out really early on in the book. And I'm just going to let you know now, you absolutely haven't figured out the twist already. The ending and the twist is actually a bit of an opinion divider. Some people loved it, some people thought it was really stupid and ridiculous, but what I will say is I'm not a very critical reader. I'm not really out for picking out plot holes and stuff like that. I mean, I barely ever notice plot holes. I read more for the vibes, and I just love the vibes in this book, and I think it is perfect to help get you out of a reading slump. Next up, we've got The Echo Man by Sam Holland. Now, this one is actually one I think deserves a lot more hype than it gets. It literally had me perched on the edge of my seat the entire time I was reading it. You know, like most of us will read to relax in the evenings. That's what I usually do. I'll read in bed. I'll be lying back, chilling, reading my book. I could not relax while I was reading this. I was sat. I was up and I was sat. It basically follows the story of a serial killer who is copying other prolific serial killers and staging his crime scenes to look exactly like the original crime scene. And then we've got another storyline which follows Jess, who has ended up being plunged into an investigation after her husband has died in a house fire that she survived in. The police think she's guilty, she's on the run, and her only hope and the only person that believes her is a disgraced detective called Nate Griffin. Going back to our serial killer story, the Echo Man, as he is now known as, has decided that he's fed up of copying other serial killers and he's ready to create a masterpiece of his own. I literally couldn't process the words or turn the pages quick enough. I devoured this book. I loved the two separate storylines. I loved the cat and mouse chase between the detective and the serial killer. This is full of twists and turns, and I'm telling you now, that slump won't stand a chance. Right, next up, we've got something a little bit different. And the reason I've chosen this for this video is because it is something a little bit different. It has still got thriller elements. I would say it's more like a gothic thriller. I know the cover makes it look like a summer book, but it's definitely not a summer read. And also, it's under 300 pages. I think it's 290 pages. So it's a short one, and it's one that's not going to take you too long to read. So the 1974 storyline follows Mary, who is an aspiring writer. She's in a relationship with a famous rock and roll star. They and some of their friends go to an Italian villa for a short trip, and One night, something really awful happened and one of the musicians dies. Following this fateful night, Mary writes a horror novel which ends up catapulting her career as an author. But many people believe that what she's written in her book is actually based on what happened that night. Fast forward to present day, we have got Emily and her best friend Chess. Emily is also an aspiring author. They end up staying in the same villa in Italy, and Emily starts looking into the history of the villa and what happened on that fateful night in 1974. It is full of secrets and scandal and betrayal. And honestly, it was actually a really pleasant surprise because I went into this book blind and it wasn't at all what I was expecting, but in a really good way. And if you're not sold already, then the cover's absolutely stunning. Next up, I'm going to throw in a little curveball. Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Now, I am not typically a romance girly, but one of my tips that I would give you if you are in a slump is to change genre. So change it up a bit. So usually I'm a thriller, horror, fantasy reader. So when I'm feeling really slumpy and as a mood reader, sometimes I'm just not in the mood for anything. So yeah, maybe choosing a different genre will help because you know it's going to be different from anything else that you usually read. This follows the story of Xavier, who is literally the definition of the perfect guy. And Samantha meets him at a far from perfect time in her life. They have the most incredible date one night, but they soon realize that it all must come to an end as quickly as it started because Samantha is moving away. Both of them are determined to overcome all of the obstacles that life is throwing at them. But the ultimate question is love really enough to keep them going when everything else seems to be against them? I love this book so much. So one of the main characters, Samantha, she's actually a social media kind of marketing, like that's her job. And some of the one-liners and the puns honestly had me giggling out loud while I was reading it. It's really witty and funny. I really loved the plot. And I loved all of the characters. I was so invested in Sam and Xavier's relationship. And yeah, I just loved it all, to be honest. It just gave me all the good vibes. Next up, we have got Run on Red by Noelle W. Eiley. So this is another short book. It is just over 300 pages. And if I am being completely honest, I had this book on my Kindle library for the longest time and I kept putting it off because it's only got a 3.9 rating on Amazon. So I know reading is subjective and everything, but I actually feel like I was reading a different book to everybody else because I really enjoyed it. And it is a perfect slump buster, in my humble opinion. So this one kicks off on the very first page and it follows the story of Laura and Olivia, two girls who are driving on their way to a summer party. But whilst they're driving, they are being tailgated and harassed by the car behind them. Both girls start panicking. They don't recognize the car. They haven't got a clue what's going on. And things start getting even more sinister when the cat and mouse chase and the fight for survival ends up on foot. Their situation grows more and more desperate as the book goes on. And yeah, I just had the most horrendous palpitations while I was reading it. It is just high stakes, dangerous, stressful. I really do think that this is perfect for a reading slump. And yeah, I just don't understand the low rating on Amazon. Maybe I'm missing something. Next up, we've got Guillotine by Delilah S. Dawson. I never know how to pronounce this. I don't know if it's Guillotine or Guillotine. I think Guillotine is French, isn't it? Oui, Paris. Anyway, this one has been described as Glass Onion meets Saw. So don't let this pretty cover fool you. We follow Des, who gets invited by her boyfriend to his family's huge, isolated ancestral home. But she doesn't want to go because she actually likes her boyfriend. She wants to go because she wants to meet his mother, who is editor-in-chief at Nouveau magazine. So Des wants to use this as an opportunity to climb the career ladder. It's set in an enormous mansion full of unnecessary luxury. The characters and the family in it are obnoxious and arrogant. And to be honest, it does start off being more about rich people dramas, which I'm not usually a huge fan of in books, but then all of a sudden we get the unhinged revenge story and all hell breaks loose. I'll be honest, I absolutely bloody love this book. I love a short, snappy, unhinged horror book. I feel like if you're quite partial to a horror book and you don't mind the gore, Sometimes a short, snappy, unhinged book can kind of shock you out of your reading slump. Also, the cover's pink, so it's a win-win for me. Next up, we have got Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. This is another one that I think deserves more hype than it gets. It follows the story of Lucy Chase. Everyone in her life believes that she was responsible for the murder of her best friend 5 years ago. Even Lucy herself is unsure because she has absolutely no memory of what happened the night in question. Lucy has tried to put that night behind her, tried to move on from the past, but a true crime podcaster gets in touch with her and invites her to help him with his investigation to see if they can find out what actually happened that night. The question is, will she find out what happened that night, and will she be able to live with herself if she finds out that she was the one that was responsible all this time? I absolutely love the concept of this. I feel like it's a little bit different, and it's also got mixed media elements, which I love. You've got the podcast interview elements, which kind of breaks it up a little bit. And also the character of Lucy's nan is absolutely hilarious. Like, she is one of my favorite book characters. She's so funny. There's so much dark humor and comedy in it, and I think that kind of makes it a little bit more lighthearted. Overall, it was just an easy, enjoyable read, and I absolutely loved it. Next up, we've got Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. This follows the story of Camilla, who is getting ready for her first day back at work after being off on maternity leave, but her husband Luke is nowhere to be seen. He's not at home where he should be, and there's an unfinished note from him on the kitchen table, so it's all a bit mysterious. Camilla tries to put that seed of doubt to the back of her mind because surely there must be a rational explanation to explain his absence. And that's when Camilla's nightmare begins, because breaking news on the television talks of a hostage situation at Luke's workplace, but Luke isn't the hostage. He's the gunman. And now Camilla, the one person that knows Luke better than anybody in the world, must piece together the clues of the unfinished note he's left behind. This book kicks off from the very first page. I actually bought it in the airport on my way to Paris. So the flight to Paris was about an hour long, and I didn't want to get off the plane. I didn't want to stop reading. I was hooked. I was so invested straight away. I was like, no, just leave me here. It's fast-paced, it's original, it's addictive, and it's full of twists. So perfect for busting that slump. Next up, we've got Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson. I know I sound like a broken record, but this is another one that I think is really underrated. Until I read it, I didn't realise that it was actually published in 2011. So it's like 14 years old, and I don't hear anybody talking about it. What if every time you went to sleep, you lost your memory, and every morning you wake up not knowing who you are, where you are, and why your face looks 10 years older in the mirror than what you remember it? This is Christine's life. Every morning she wakes up confused. She hasn't got a clue what's going on. It's quite frightening and scary. And the only person in her life that can give her some insight into what has happened to her is her husband, Ben. But Ben's giving off some dodgy, untrustworthy vibes, you know? And so Christine starts an investigation into her own life. She starts trying to piece together what's happened to her, why she's like this, why she feels like everybody's lying to her. She starts keeping a diary that's just for herself, because she knows that every evening when she goes to sleep, she's going to have forgotten what she's already discovered. Oh, this book, it just gave me this creeping sense of dread the whole time I was reading it. And I actually got so frustrated because of Christine's frustration that she couldn't trust her own memory. It is a psychological thriller that will really get inside your head. I could not put it down. My heart was thumping while I was reading it. And the twist at the end is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I'll say it again. I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. Next up, we've got Playing Nice by JP Delaney. Again, at the time of me recording this video, it's actually £3 in paperback on Amazon. So bloody bargain. Imagine somebody knocks on your door and tells you that your 2-year-old son isn't actually biologically yours and he was switched at birth with their son. What would you do? That knock on the door is the start of an absolute nightmare for Pete. As a mother myself, this book really messed with my mind because I just kept thinking, like, what would you do when you have literally spent 2 years raising and bonding with a child that isn't actually yours. But then you'd also have the curiosity about the child that is biologically yours. Like, honestly, it's just an impossible situation to be in. This is another one that's so underrated. It had me gripped the whole way through, and the twists at the end are absolutely crazy. So yeah, highly recommend for getting you out of that slump. Next up, we've got A Grim Reaper's Guide to Catching a Killer by Maxi Dara. This follows the story of 42-year-old Kathy, who is a modern-day Grim Reaper. One day, she goes to collect recently deceased 17-year-old Connor's essence, but it's not there. It's missing. She finally tracks him down and he tells her he's been murdered and he's not crossing over to the other side until she helps him find his killer. But Kathy only has 45 days to find out who killed Connor, because after 45 days, if Connor doesn't cross over to the other side, then he will be doomed to roam the earth as a ghost forever. My advice for this book is to go into it not expecting it to be too serious. It is just a bit of fun. I absolutely loved the magical realism elements in it. It kind of gave me Ashley Poston, TJ Klune vibes. So if you love those authors, then definitely give this one a go. It actually made me a little bit teary at the end as well. But yeah, perfect for spooky season. Perfect if you're in the mood for something a little less serious. And perfect if, like me, you absolutely love a pastel book cover. Next up, we have got another short, snappy, unhinged horror book. The Housemates by Ian Rob Wright. This one is also on Kindle Unlimited. This one is just over 250 pages and it's kind of like Big Brother meets Saw. It follows the story of 12 people who arrive at an unknown, isolated location. I mean, aren't the locations always isolated? And they are there to take part in what they believe to be a reality TV show, kind of like Big Brother. But the housemates that have been nominated each day must take part in the most brutal elimination tasks. All I'm going to say is the bit in this book with the fingernails made me feel unwell. It's basically an absolute gore fest, but I absolutely loved it. And it was so fast paced and full of action, I actually felt like I needed to lie down after reading it. Next up, we've got How to Kill Men and Get Away with It by Katie Brent. This one is also on Kindle Unlimited. Meet Kitty Collins. She is one of my absolute favourite FMCs of all time. She is an icon. I absolutely love her. By day, Kitty is an influencer, and by night, she's a serial killer. This isn't your typical thriller. It's a little bit more lighthearted. There's a lot of dark humour. There's a lot of gore. It's kind of like Made in Chelsea meets Dexter. So you've got kind of like the Dexter vigilante vibes in it. Some of the one-liners in this book literally had me laughing out loud, like screaming laughing. Kitty is hilarious. But also, I feel like this book has got a deeper message, and I absolutely love a book that has something to say. There's also a sequel, I Bet You'd Look Good in a Coffin, and honestly, I recommend both. I absolutely loved both. And if anything, I actually think the sequel was a little bit better. They're both really fun reads, and I highly recommend them. And last but not least, an absolute classic, None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This follows the story of Alex, who's a podcaster, and she randomly bumps into this woman called Josie at a pub one evening, and they both discover that they have exactly the same birthday, and they are birthday twins. A few days later, they bump into each other again, and to cut a long story short, Alex agrees to interview Josie for her new podcast. And to be honest, that's when things start getting a little bit unsettling. Josie starts getting a little bit too close for comfort. It actually made me feel a little bit uncomfortable in places. Prepare to be hooked right into this. I read it in one sitting. I couldn't put it down. It's full of secrets and lies. I also love the podcast element of it and the mixed media, the interviews. I've heard the audiobook is absolutely fantastic. So if you do like an audiobook, then I highly recommend you try this on audio. I can completely understand why this book has so much hype. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you found this video helpful, and I hope that at least one of these book recommendations will help you out of that dreaded slump. I'm sending you lots and lots of slump busting vibes. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps push out my content, especially as a brand new channel. And honestly, I am having the best time here, and I really appreciate everybody's support so far. I have so many videos planned. I'm actually thinking of recording my first reading vlog next week, so that's exciting. Good luck with the slump, and I'll see you all next time.